Think about what happens the exact moment you cover your bird's cage or turn off the lights in your room. You assume they simply close their eyes, tuck their heads, and drift off into a peaceful human-like slumber until dawn. But you couldn't be more wrong. The moment darkness falls, your bird undergoes a profound, almost eerie, biological and psychological transformation. A complete twilight metamorphosis. In the blink of an eye, an ancient evolutionary program kicks in, turning your sweet, playful daytime companion into a hyper-vigilant, ultra-sensory survival machine operating entirely in the shadows. While the human household goes quiet, your bird's brain, feathers, and instincts shift into a high-frequency state of nocturnal defense that has remained unchanged for millions of years. The reason this side of your bird remains a complete mystery is simple. Human eyes are fundamentally blind to it. Because we lack nocturnal vision and tend to leave our pets alone in the dark, we miss 99% of their true nighttime behavior. If you were to place a high-definition infrared night vision camera inside a bird's enclosure, or out in a wild roosting tree, you would be utterly stunned by what unfolds. You would see micro-movements, rapid sensory recalibrations, and bizarre structural adjustments that look less like sleeping and more like a tactical standby mode. Your bird is constantly navigating a silent world of invisible threats, processing auditory data we cannot hear, and managing automated bodily functions designed to keep them alive until the sun rises. To truly understand what your bird goes through while you are asleep, we have to look at the jaw-dropping phenomena that science has only recently managed to fully capture on camera. Over the next 30 minutes, we are going to break down 3 shocking nocturnal secrets that will completely change how you view your feathered friend. First, we will expose the mind-bending reality of a creature that can literally sleep with half of its brain wide awake and tracking you across the room. Second, we'll uncover the silent, structural triggers behind the violent midnight thrashing fits known as night frights. And finally, we will look at the internal thermal traps they activate to completely alter their body temperature. Don't touch that dial, because what you are about to see is a side of nature that happens right under your roof every single night, but one you have absolutely never seen before. To truly comprehend the nighttime world of your bird, we must first throw out everything we know about human sleep. When humans go to sleep, our entire brain shuts down uniformly, leaving us completely unconscious and vulnerable to our surroundings. For a prey animal like a bird, doing this in the wild would be an immediate death sentence. Enter uni-hemispheric slow-wave sleep, USWs, one of the most terrifyingly brilliant evolutionary hacks in the entire animal kingdom. Under the hood of this phenomenon, a bird's brain acts as 2 completely independent computers. Through a specialized neurological split, a bird can put one precise hemisphere of its brain into a deep, restorative slow-wave sleep state, while the opposite hemisphere remains entirely awake, fully functional, and processing high-resolution visual data. This cross-wire design means that if the left hemisphere is sleeping, the right eye is closed. Meanwhile, the right hemisphere is wide awake, and the left eye remains completely open, actively scanning the dark environment for the slightest twitch of a predator. If you look at a pet bird under a night vision infrared camera, this looks absolutely uncanny. You might walk into your living room at 3 a.m. and notice your bird sitting perfectly still on its perch. One side of its face looks peacefully asleep, with the eye tightly shut. But as you move closer, you see the other eye is slightly cracked open, tracking your movements across the floor. It isn't just resting its eyes. Half of that bird's brain is actively analyzing you as a potential threat. Furthermore, research has revealed that birds can dynamically adjust the intensity of this sleep. If they feel perfectly safe in an enclosed, covered cage, the wakeful eye might only blink or peek open occasionally. But if there is a strange noise, an unfamiliar shadow, or a new object in the room, they will instantly ramp up their USWs. Keeping that guard eye locked onto the source of tension, while the other half of the brain desperately tries to get its needed rest. Why does your pet parakeet, cockatiel, or massive macaw do this when they are perfectly safe inside a locked house? Because you cannot easily erase millions of years of theropod dinosaur genetics. In the wild, birds sleep in highly coordinated flocks or deep inside treacherous tree hollows where owls, snakes, and wild cats are constantly hunting. Birds on the outer edges of a wild flock will deliberately keep their outward-facing eyes wide open and awake, serving as a biological perimeter radar system for the sleeping birds nestled safely in the center. Your domestic bird doesn't know it is safe from owls inside your suburban home. Its genetic programming tells it that total darkness equals maximum vulnerability. When the lights go out, that ancient survival engine fires up. They are constantly calculating the risk vectors of your living room, proving that even when they seem entirely dead to the world, a part of them is always awake, watching, and waiting. It is the middle of the night, and the house is completely quiet. Suddenly, without warning, an explosion of violent thumping, thrashing, and desperate wing beating erupts from your bird's cage. If you have ever owned a bird, especially a cockatiel, parakeet, or small parrot, you have likely experienced this terrifying phenomenon known as a night fright. To a human running into the room and flipping on the lights, it looks like absolute madness. The bird is blindly launching itself against the metal bars of its cage, panting heavily, eyes dilated with pure terror, and bleeding from broken blood feathers or damaged wingtips. It looks as though the bird is fighting an invisible monster in the dark. In a way, it is. Because of their hyper-alert neurological state at night, a bird's brain doesn't require a massive threat to panic. It only requires a single microsecond disruption to shatter its fragile nighttime peace and trigger an uncontrollable survival response. When a night fright happens, owners often look around the room and say, "But nothing happened. The room was completely empty." What we fail to realize is that the avian sensory system operating in the dark is vastly more sensitive than ours. A trigger for a night fright is almost always completely invisible or imperceptible to a human. It can be the microscopic vibration of a heavy truck driving down a street 2 blocks away, felt through the floorboards. It can be the sudden, silent sweep of headlights from a passing car, casting a fleeting, predatory shadow across the ceiling. Even a tiny air current from a central air conditioning unit kicking on can brush against their feathers, mimicking the silent approach of a hunting owl. The moment this sensory data registers in their half-awake brain, the ancient, airborne escape reflex instantly overrides all logic. The bird doesn't think, "I am safe in a cage." Its dinosaur brain screams, "An owl has grabbed the branch, fly now or die." Because they are trapped inside an enclosure, this flight response turns into a tragic, self-inflicted cycle of thrashing. But night terrors aren't the only activity taking place in the pitch black. If you listen closely to a birdcage at 2 a.m., you will often hear a faint, rhythmic rustle, frussle, rustle. This is the strange and hypnotic world of midnight preening. Even when completely blind in the dark, birds will engage in meticulous feather maintenance. Using pure muscle memory and tactile feedback, they will run their beaks down their primary flight feathers and reach around to stimulate their uropygial gland, the preen gland, near the base of their tail. This gland secretes a vital waterproofing oil and powder. Why do they do this while blind? Because keeping feathers perfectly aligned, zipped and conditioned is a matter of life and death. If a feather is out of place, it alters their aerodynamic efficiency, making them a slower target for a predator the next day. This late-night grooming is an automated maintenance cycle, ensuring that their biological flight suit is perfectly tuned, cleaned, and locked into place before the first ray of morning light hits. When the sun goes down, temperatures drop rapidly, creating a massive biological challenge for birds. Unlike humans who rely on heavy blankets or external heating, a bird must manufacture and trap its own heat using nothing but its body and its feathers. To achieve this, they activate a physical defensive state known as the fluffing phenomenon. If you look at your bird at night, it no longer looks like the sleek, streamlined animal of the daytime. It transforms into a completely round, puffy ball of feathers. What you are witnessing is a masterclass in thermal engineering. By using tiny, specialized muscles at the base of each feather follicle, the bird raises its plumage outward. This action creates millions of microscopic air pockets between the feathers and the skin. The bird's core body temperature warms these tiny pockets of trapped air, creating an invisible, self-sustaining thermal blanket that acts as a shield against the freezing night air. One of the most common and visually bizarre sights for any bird owner is watching their pet go to sleep while balancing perfectly on just one leg. It looks incredibly uncomfortable to us. But to a bird, it is a brilliant mathematical solution to heat conservation. A bird's legs and feet are completely bare. They lack insulating feathers and are directly exposed to the cold nighttime drafts. If a bird were to sleep resting on both feet, it would lose an immense amount of body heat through conduction into the perch. To stop this thermal bleeding, the bird pulls one leg entirely up into its lower abdomen, burying it deep within the warm, fluffed-up down feathers. By doing this, they instantly reduce the exposed, unsensulated surface area of their body by up to 50%. Their circulatory system then utilizes a specialized counter-current heat exchange, keeping the tucked leg incredibly warm, while allowing the standing leg to function perfectly at a slightly lower temperature without freezing. The final piece of the bird's nighttime thermal defense is perhaps the most uncanny posture of all. As the night deepens, a bird will twist its neck a full $180 circ and bury its beak directly into the feathers on its back. This isn't just a comfortable resting position. It is a vital respiratory survival tactic. A bird's beak contains a massive network of blood vessels close to the surface, meaning a significant amount of heat can escape through the nasal passages, the nares. By burying the beak deep into the fluffed back feathers, the bird traps that escaping heat. Even more importantly, this posture acts as a natural respirator. When the bird breathes out, the warm, moist air from its lungs is caught in the feathers. When it breathes back in, it inhales that pre-warmed, conditioned air instead of drawing freezing, dry night air directly into its sensitive respiratory system. This simple physical twist saves the bird an enormous amount of metabolic energy, allowing it to survive freezing nights without burning through its vital fat reserves. For decades, scientists believed that dreaming was a luxury unique to mammals. However, advanced neurological imaging has shattered this myth, revealing that birds experience a distinct and highly active rapid eye movement. Sleep cycle. When your bird slips into REM sleep under the cover of darkness, its brainwaves shift into a frantic pattern that looks identical to its waking state. What are they experiencing in this state? In a series of groundbreaking studies, researchers placed microelectrodes into the vocal centers of sleeping songbirds. They discovered something truly magical. At night, the neurons in the bird's brain fire in the exact, precise mathematical sequence required to sing their daytime songs. Your bird is literally practicing its melodies, replaying its daytime flights, and processing social interactions in its sleep. They are mentally navigating their world while completely unconscious, anchoring their daytime memories into their long-term neural pathways, while a human requires long, uninterrupted blocks of deep sleep to function. A bird's internal clock operates on a high-speed, rapid-fire schedule known as the power nap protocol. Because they are evolutionary prey, spending 8 continuous hours completely dead to the world would leave them entirely defenseless against predators. To combat this vulnerability, a bird's nighttime structure is broken down into hundreds of micro-sleep cycles. Their REM sleep periods are incredibly brief, often lasting only a few seconds to a couple of minutes at a time. They rapidly cycle between unihemispheric sleep, light sleep, and ultra-short bursts of REM, constantly waking up for a fraction of a second to scan their environment before drifting back under. This hyper-optimized sleep architecture ensures their brains get the structural recovery they need without ever truly dropping their guard. Because birds have highly active emotional brains capable of dreaming, they are also entirely susceptible to cognitive disruptions that look very much like human nightmares. If a bird experiences a traumatic event during the day, such as an attack by another animal, a severe injury, or a massive fright, their nighttime REM sleep will show chaotic spike patterns, often leading to sudden, terrified awakenings. However, the biggest threat to their internal clock isn't a bad dream. It's human interference. In modern households, leaving TVs on, scrolling on smartphones near a cage, or allowing ambient streetlights to bleed through a window completely destroys a bird's circadian rhythm. Artificial light pollution suppresses the production of melatonin, the hormones responsible for regulating their internal clock. When a bird is chronically sleep-deprived due to light pollution, it undergoes a devastating psychological breakdown. This lack of rest triggers severe behavioral pathologies, including self-destructive feather plucking, screaming fits, and chronic cage aggression, turning a once happy pet into a stressed, traumatized animal. Over the course of this journey, we have pulled back the curtain on a world that happens entirely in the shadows. A world where your quiet, daytime pet transforms into a marvel of evolutionary engineering the moment the lights go out. We have seen that a bird's night is anything but passive. From the mind-bending cross-wired mechanics of split-brain sleep that lets them watch you with one eye open, to the involuntary airborne escape reflexes that cause chaotic night frights. Their nighttime existence is a beautifully orchestrated survival matrix. When you add in the complex physics of their self-made thermal feather blankets and the fact that their brains are actively replaying their daytime melodies while they dream, it becomes undeniable. Birds are not just adapting to the dark, they are absolute masters of it. Now that you know the deep science behind what happens after lights out, it's time to take a closer look at your own feathered companions. We want to hear from you down in the comments below. Have you ever walked into a dark room and caught your bird staring directly at you with just one eye cracked open? Or have you had to deal with the sudden, terrifying chaos of a midnight night fright? Share your stories, your bird species, and how you keep them safe and sound during the night. Your experiences help build a better understanding for bird lovers everywhere, and reading through your comments is always the best part of our day. The next time you cover your bird's cage for the evening, or look out your window into the dark, silent branches of a tree, take a moment to appreciate the incredible reality of what is actually happening. You aren't just looking at a sleeping animal. You are looking at an unbroken lineage of theropod dinosaurs, running an ancient million-year-old defense program perfectly in the dark. Their senses are dialed to frequencies we cannot comprehend, and their bodies are finely tuned to survive the harshest elements without a sound. Treat their sleep with respect, give them the darkness they need, and never forget the beautiful, unseen wonders of the avian world. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.